This is Life Epistles. We bring to you teachings about life so that you can improve upon living the life and also your spiritual development. Welcome to the 5th episode. And the topic is how the spirit functions in the human body. As we always indicate, our source of information is the Western wisdom teachings, otherwise called esoteric Christianity. Esoteric Christianity, or the Western wisdom teachings, is different from Eastern teachings, even though there may be some similarities in expression. Today's topic is known to only esoteric Christianity, not popular Christianity or esoteric Christianity. Neither is it known in the scientific world or the view of the materialist. Importantly, the ignorant person or the ordinary person has no idea what this teaching or this topic is about. We have values on our platform. The values are important to us. We do not seek to indoctrinate anybody on this platform, but we give you the opportunity to accept or reject our teaching. We offer you the opportunity to challenge us, but in doing so, we entreat you to be knowledgeable in the subject. My name is Seddoh Bokor. Let us begin. As normal, we begin with self-test, and we have 2 questions. The first question is, can the spirit live and function in the physical world without the dense body? Your answer could be yes, it could be no, it could be undecided. The second question is the dense body of a human being a reflection or shadow of his or her spirit? Your answer could be yes, it could be no, it could be undecided. Please mark yourself by the end of the presentation. Once again, the topic is how the spirit functions in the human body. For this lecture, you may need to refresh your mind with our previous presentations, especially lecture number 2 that talked about the various bodies of a human being, and lecture number 3 that talks about the various worlds and how human beings are linked. In episode 4, we said, among other things, that the divine spirit generated more or less the dense body, this dense body. We also said the life spirit generated the vital body, and the human spirit generated the desire body, and the mind was given as the spiritual vehicle that links the threefold spirit and the threefold body. The threefold spirit, we say, is the ego, and the threefold body, we say, is the personality. And we depicted this with this diagram, where we show the ego with its threefold spiritual bodies and the material bodies of the personality, or the threefold body. Now, we mentioned in one of our presentations about the birth of the various material bodies. The first body, which is the dense body, Generally, it takes 9 months in the womb or any appropriate environment for it to be born. Then the second body, which is the vital body, though unseen, takes 7 years for it to be born. Then the third body, which is the desire body, is born by the age 14th. And the last of the bodies, which is the mind or the mental body, is birthed by the 21st year. So by 21 years, every human being has the full set of the material bodies to begin experiencing life. The body of a human being, this dense body, is actually and in truth the home of an individualized spirit. It is different from animals. Animals do not have individualized spirits, but every human being has individualized spirit, which is self-conscious. We can refer 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 and 20, where it is written, "What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which you have of God, and ye are not your own?" Our 4 material bodies that the threefold spirit has and is using to gather experience on earth has the dense body, this dense body, as the most organized. The 3 other bodies are not as organized as this dense body. And the dense body, science tells us that it contains over 30 trillion cells, organized eventually into tissues, organs, and make up the body systems. And when we're talking about the body systems, we're talking about 10 to 12 body systems, from the digestive system to the respiratory system to the nervous system to the reproductive system and what have you. All these systems play their role. Now, even though each of the organs that we have and the systems perform specific functions, overall, all of them combine to keep the human body alive and active. The big question is, who is coordinating all these systemic activities, all these bodily functions, so that they all perform as one? Who is coordinating these activities? The answer is, it is the threefold spirit in us, the ego, that is doing all that. Let us take note that the dense body does not only house this threefold spirit in us, it actually imprisons the threefold spirit in us, in its experience gathering process to become perfect. Let me say it once again that this dense body does not only house the threefold spirit, but it imprisons the spirit in it. Generally, this imprisonment of the spirit only ends at death, when the spirit is finally released. And we're going to see how this dense body ties the spirit more or less to itself. How is the spirit, the threefold spirit, imprisoned? While living in the physical world, the unseen bodies of the spirit, we are talking about the vital body, the desire body, and the mental body. They are tied in particular areas of this dense body. And overall, the silver cord connects the material bodies, including the mind, to the threefold spirit. Let me explain that even though the spirit exists and imprisoned in this body, it is tied at particular areas of this dense body. For example, the whole structure of this dense body, we have the silver cord tying it in the heart, and that of the vital body is tied in the solar plexus and the palms and other places. That of the desire body is tied in the liver, and that of the mind, the mental body, is tied in the frontal sinus. So if you refer to Ecclesiastes chapter 6 verse 12, you see the reference that is made to the silver cord. It runs from the heart to the solar plexus, to the liver, and then to the frontal sinus. That is how the silver cord ties all the invisible bodies together with the dense body and connect it to the threefold spirit. While we are awake, all the bodies are together, and that enables the spirit to function in the physical world. But when we sleep, during sleep, the bodies are separated. The threefold spirit withdraws from this body and goes into the desire world with the desire body and the mental body. That is what happens. Now, how does the spirit withdraw? The threefold spirit withdraws from the body through the occipital and parietal sutures. We have the occipital lobe, we have the parietal lobe. Both have a connecting line. It is through that line that the spirit withdraws when we sleep. But it is still kept connected to the body by means of the silver cord. And we have a picture of it. And we give credit to International Academy of Consciousness, where you can see a couple sleeping, but their spiritual bodies are out, and they are still connected by that shining silvery cord. The silver cord can take you anywhere in this world. It never breaks until death. Now, we ever said on our presentations, one of them, that there are 7 worlds contained within the God of our solar system. These 7 worlds are specialized by this Earth planet, the spirit of this Earth planet. And we human beings also specialize the 7 worlds around ourselves. Our spirit specialize that. It specializes the 7 worlds within the planetary Earth spirit around ourselves. Which means that the 7 worlds we talk about as the world contained within God are not far out in space. They are right here with us because we have specialized it around ourselves in our aura. But the missing gap is that we haven't led enough good life to raise our vibration so that we can consciously enter into those worlds. Now we do, unconsciously, especially when we fall asleep. All that we are in this physical world, our actions, our desires, our thoughts and our words, whether we are conscious of it or not, whether we know it or not, is a product of our spirit. Whatever you claim you are, whatever I claim I am, is a product of the spirit in you. It is a product of the spirit in me. I said earlier on, while we are awake and going about our daily activities, The spirit operates in the region of abstract thought. The region of abstract thought is not far away in space. It is around us, our aura. The spirit functions in it. Every human being, that is where your spirit is, in the region of abstract thought. There it sees everything. From this region of abstract thought, the spirit sees all impressions and impacts that are made on us from the external environment through the senses. And when we talk about the senses, let's remind ourselves of episode 2, where we talk about the vital body. And we say that the light eater is responsible for sense perception. When we talk about the sense perception, we are talking about our sense of smell, that of taste, feeling, touch, and sight. They are enabled to do their job by the presence and activity of the light eater. So the light eater is the one that takes whatever impression is made on us. Now, the impressions or the impacts, the information that is carried by the eaters, together with the feeling and emotions that it has generated in our desire body, they form a picture in the mind. When these images are formed in the mind, the ego or the spirit, it sees the image and instantly takes a decision as to what should be done. It draws a conclusion as to what the body should do. Those conclusions then become ideas in the region of abstract thought. Then by the will, the power of will, our spirit projects that idea through the mind, the concrete mind. It energizes that idea as a thought form. And that thought form descends into the world of thought. Our desire body then takes that idea after it's picked the thought form. Then the etheric brain, before this physical brain, there was an etheric brain. It surrounds the brain. That etheric brain is impinged upon. And then the information is imprinted on the physical brain centers. Once the physical brain has it, then the nerves are now activated. Then the necessary voluntary action can take place. Good or bad action can take place. But these things happen in a split second. It happens so fast. The spirit acts so fast because it is an aspect of God. We have a drawing that shows how this works. Let us begin from the bottom. You find the external impressions on the physical body. It is represented by a yellow arrow. The dense body is impacted, and the vital body picks the information. It goes through the desire body, where it gathers our feelings, our emotions about that external impression. Then it goes to the region of concrete thought, which is the lower region in terms of the world of thought. There it reflects as a picture. But the ego is functioning in the region of abstract thought, the highest level, as we can see from this drawing. It then gives meaning to that image that it has seen. And the meaning that it has given to it, which normally is the idea, is represented by the golden star. The idea now comes back into the region of concrete thought, where it gathers mind stuff or materials. Then this is imprinted on the desire body. And the desire body also impacts the vital body, the etheric body. And once the etheric body, which is the etheric brain, is impacted, it will also impact the physical brain. So, once the physical brain has been impacted, the dust body will have to act. The ego, in the region of abstract thought, sees the impacts which come to it like the arrow as shown in the region of concrete thought. The ego draws conclusion, and here the conclusion is drawn as a star. So from the region of abstract thought, that conclusion, which is an idea, goes back into the region of concrete thought, where it is given added strength. And from the region of concrete thought, the idea, which is not a thought form, comes to the desire body, where the desire body gives it additional strength. And from there, it goes to the vital body, the etheric brain. Once the etheric brain has been impacted, then the physical brain takes it from there. It takes that vitality and impacts the dense body, the physical body, through the voluntary system. Then we must act voluntarily. So this picture gives an idea of how the ego functions in the region of abstract thought, where it is and seeing everything as brought to it in the form of image in the region of concrete thought. Now, the mind may project the image that is formed in three directions according to the strength or the will of the ego as it occupies the thought form that has been generated. The image may be projected directly against the desire body in order to arouse feeling, which will then lead to immediate action. If that thought awakens interest, then one of the two forces, as we mentioned in a previous lecture, the force of attraction or the force of repulsion, will be activated. You may reference episode 3, where we talk about these forces into details. Nonetheless, we still have a picture of it. And if you look at the middle one, where we have feeling, any impression that comes to us, for it to work on us, depends on the feeling that we have. Once the feeling is there, interest is awakened. But the interest is in two directions, either that of attraction or that of repulsion. So the force of attraction will work on the positive ones, and the force of repulsion will work against negative ones. We also have indifference, where you are indifferent to any impression. There you don't really act. So in the desire world, the feeling that we have towards impressions, objects, events is what matters most. So if the image is projected or as projected by the mind, attracts the force of attraction, then automatically the centripetal force, the force that brings things to the center, will be aroused. It will seize the thought. It will spin it into the desire body, give it more strength so that it can gather desire materials in the desire body or the world of the desire body or the desire world. Then the thought will act on the etheric brain and propel the vital force through the appropriate brain centers and nerves, then we can take action. Our muscles will have to go into action. That is how the force of attraction behaves. It is an enabler for us to do good things. So, once the action is taken, once the force in the thought, as provided by the spirit, by the ego, is expended, we have exhausted that energy. The memory of what happened will be stored in the vital body. The memory of every single thing that we do is stored. Now, if the force of repulsion, which takes things out from the center, in our body, as a human being, that one dominates the lower region of the desire body or the desire world. So it tries to push things away from the center. If that force is what is awoken based on our feeling and the interest that we generate, and that force works against negativity, low desires. When the force of repulsion is aroused, there will be a struggle because the ego has given spiritual energy, which is the will of man, to that thought form. And that energy needed to be expended. So it will seek to activate the desired body. But the force of repulsion has been awoken because it is the negative thought that is trying to exercise itself. So there will be a struggle between the force of repulsion and that thought. So the spiritual energy contained in that thought, if it is so strong, it will try to clothe itself in the desired body and manipulate the brain and the muscles. The force of repulsion will endeavor to scatter that desired material that the thought has gathered. So, if the spiritual energy is strong, definitely it will impinge upon the brain centers. It will gather the desired stuff and manipulate the vital force, and action will take place, even though the force of repulsion tried its best so that that negative thing will not manifest. But whatever it is, there will be that image that will be stored of that struggle between the thought, which is a negative one, and the force of repulsion. In fact, everything that we do is recorded, is stored in the vital body. So, the third way that the thought image as produced in the mind can be dispersed is what we call the indifference, where you don't really bother much about the impression that has come to you. You did not bother yourself generating any interest at all. So that is where indifference comes in. But what happened in indifference? The thought form meets a feeling that is indifferent. So it doesn't have enough energy to act. Gathering desired stuff, vitality, manipulating the etheric brain and the physical brain, the energy is not strong. So it doesn't act on the body. That is what indifference does. Now, we say that the mind can project the impressions, the ideas that come to it from the spirit in three ways. And the first one that we have talked about is where immediate action is needed. And we talk about the three ways immediate action is required. One is the one that goes with the force of attraction. The other one is the one that goes with the force of repulsion. And the third one is the one that goes with indifference. The mind can project in those three directions. But there is also another way that the mind can project. When we say the mind can project, we are talking about the spirit projecting it through the mind. That one is where no immediate action is required. We may have an impression from the external environment, but we don't feel like acting immediately. It does not mean that when we fail to act immediately, that ends the matter. Not at all. Because the image has been formed and the idea has also been concluded by the spirit, except there isn't sufficient energy for the spirit to act, it will save that image. That image will surely be saved by the spirit. At any point in time, the spirit can fall back to that picture or that image and try to activate it. That is why we have recurrence in thoughts. Certain thoughts that we don't want, they keep coming because the image is there, and at any time, the spirit can fall on any one of them and give them activation so that it will gather desire material and try to impress upon the vital body and cause the physical body to also act. In fact, such images continue to grow and grow and grow on us. They are the basis for repetitive actions. So you may not want to do, but you go doing them. Others you want to do and you continue doing them. So the fact that we did not act immediately doesn't mean that the picture or the image that is stored has been eradicated. Not at all. Then there is a third way that the spirit acts through the mind, and that is thought transference. Now, when the thinker, the individual, decides to project his thought, her thought, to another mind, that can be done to act as a suggestion or for that person to carry out an activity. For instance, telepathy, where people communicate without any visible means or tools of communication, but through the ethers. Or the mind or the thought can be directed against the desired body of a person. In such thought transference instances, the person will receive this thought as if it is his own or her own thought and can behave in any of the three ways already indicated. Either awake the force of attraction or the force of repulsion or indifference. It depends on the nature of the person who is receiving the thought from another person. Now, when somebody sends a thought to another person or to influence somebody's desired body, whether good or bad, eventually the thought will gravitate to the creator. If it is a negative thought, the thought will come back, whether it has accomplished its mission or not. It will come back to the one who generated it. And the records will be kept in the invisible body of the one who generated it. Now, we go to looking at the records, generally, the records. We have the conscious mind, we also have the subconscious mind. All that we have talked about so far is more about the conscious mind. Now, we'll move to the second aspect where we're talking about the subconscious mind. See, in the first instance where we talk about the conscious mind, we are talking about the voluntary actions and the more or less involuntary actions. Now, we have another portion of the consciousness of the spirit using the mind. That one is what we call the involuntary memory or the subconscious mind. And it comes in a different way. Now, when we breathe in air, we also breathe in more or less ether. Ether is a finer form of air. And the ether that we are taking contains detailed pictures of our surrounding environments, whether we are aware or not. Once we are breathing, the pictures are going and hitting our other bodies. There is something interesting. When we breathe, when we take in air, it is not only our external environment that we are taking the picture of. We are also sending to our spiritual bodies what is the environment in our aura. Two things are happening here. Through the ether, a picture of our environment exists. And also, the conditions in our aura, the invisible energy fields that surround us. So our slightest thought, our feeling, our emotion is first transmitted to the lungs. The lungs take that. And then the image is injected into the blood. And we know the blood is one of the highest products of the vital body. The spirit functions in our body by means of the blood. Without the blood, the spirit can never ever function. And it's the blood that also carries nourishment to every part of our body. So the pictures that are contained in the blood are imprinted on the vital body. And they are always there. And it is those pictures that we will use when we eventually drop this physical body and move to the next world. The pictures will also be taken along. Now, the subconscious memory relates to our experience in this earth life. It contains all the impressions that have been made on us by means of the vital body. So long as those pictures remain, there is no basis of forgiveness. We'll be talking about this at the right time. Until the pictures are out of our body, the things that we do, we are not really forgiven. Because those pictures will be carried along when the spirit eventually leaves this physical body. In addition to the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, we also have the superconscious mind. And the superconscious mind contains records of all that the spirit has gathered over its millions of years of journey from the world of God through to the physical world. That is where the superconscious memory is. That record is the highest, and it is actually contained in the life spirit. That aspect of the threefold spirit is where the pictures that the spirit has gathered by its activities over millions of years are kept. And one way that this imprints upon us is our character and our conscience. That is why you find the differences. People have different characters, and conscience is also not the same. Because over the years of travel, the spirit has worked harder in some people, aspiring to be godlike than other people. This conscience and character ensouls everything that we do. So if you are a bad guy, when you are having your thoughts, it will be influenced by your conscience and your character. And that is what is coming from the life spirit. That is where the records are. That is where we are molded by our own activities. Let me say that in women who are stronger when it comes to the vital body, theirs is positive compared to men. Men, ours is negative. I'm not saying good or bad. We're only talking about the characteristics. This life spirit is very sensitive. And for women, it works nicely. And advanced people spiritually who are advanced, because they have sensitized their spiritual bodies by living a life that is pure, that is prayerful, that is full of concentration of good things. They have this super conscious memory well enhanced. So, the life spirit, which houses the super conscious memory, because it's so high, does not need the mind or the desire for its action in the physical world. No. It works on us sometimes by intuition. It comes to you. Intuition is coming from the highest aspect, the superconscious memory, and that is linked to the life spirit. It occurs to you, let me do this. You go doing it and you get it right. It occurs to you, let me go do this. You fail to do it and you regret it. It is part, a quality of the life spirit, and that is intuition. The often we learn to listen to it, the better we will become. So, friends, what we have said so far shows clearly that this body is the vehicle, the tool that the Spirit is using. The way we use it, the way we use our material bodies, will influence our spiritual development. The way we use it, from it, we will develop what is called soul qualities. And it's the soul qualities that will improve upon our spirituality. It is this soul quality that separates a spiritually developed person from a lowly developed person. Before we end the presentation, let me say, all that we want to be tomorrow depends on the actions we are taking now. I hope this episode has been informative. If you have any questions, any suggestions, you can write in the comments section. Let's have another date in our next lecture, where we will be talking about esoteric Christianity explanation of spirit, soul, and body. We'll emphasize more on the soul. The spirit and the body, of course, we have talked about them to some extent. Now, we will talk about the connection between them, but what particularly is the soul. I thank you very much.